Avatar The Last Airbender fans, now that Season 2 and Season 3 have officially been greenlit, that really only means one thing. Toph Beifong is on the way. I don't know about you guys, but the Blind Bandit was literally the first thing that I thought about when I heard this announcement. She's such an important piece to this journey, although she comes a little bit later in it, but now that we have that confirmation, we can finally talk about Toph. And so that's what we're gonna do today. As always, make sure you smash like before we dive in, as well as subscribe if you're new here. Because if you don't, I'll just proceed to keep calling you Twinkle Toes until you do, and nobody wants that. But I've already talked a little bit about Season 2 and 3 here on the channel. The one thing that I will note is that since the announcement, it just feels like a massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm sure a lot of other fans out there can agree with that statement. Whether you enjoyed the first season or not, or you just had some flaws with it, or whatever it is, I think a lot of people are just happy that they're going to get another go at this, they're going to get a Season 2, and they're going to get a Season 3, and they're going to get to finish their vision for this story. But with all that being said, now that we know this is being made, we get to start really getting excited and looking forward to some of the best moments from these seasons, and literally at the top of the list is Toph. She's one of the most iconic characters from Avatar The Last Airbender, and one of my personal favorites. Just the pure creativity of writing this character who's the best earthbender in the world, the best earthbender ever, but instead of it being just like a huge buff dude, which the creators actually initially planned on that, it ends up being a small blind girl, and that's just the absolute best. Toph really has some of the best moments throughout this entire series. She showcases what earthbending is and should look like, where the roots of it come from with the badger mole and her connection to the badger moles. And then we see her, since she's blind, she kind of has this radar when she steps her feet down and she can see things all around her. I'm so curious how they're going to do all of that in live action. You know, within the first season, we saw a lot of stuff that before watching it, I was like, I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off in live action. And they did. And so now heading into Season 2, I'm very curious to see how they approach things like that. And also the advancements that they make within the earthbending itself. I know that some people had critiques with the earthbending in Season 1. I actually really loved it, especially the scene between Aang and Bumi. But you can't have Season 2 without a ton of earthbending, without at least referencing like the Blind Bandit episode. I'm very much hoping that we get this entire arena showdown, because in Book 2, when you watch it, you're waiting for that title card every single time you go next episode, and as soon as the Blind Bandit pops up, you're like, let's go! It's time for Toph, and it's truly a part in Aang's story where things really take a turn. Toph ends up being that earthbending teacher that he didn't know that he needed, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions still out there. There's going to remain a lot of questions just regarding Aang not learning waterbending in the first season, and I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. I mentioned in my last video, it could be something that they just handle off screen, or they kind of just utilize like one episode in the second season of Aang and Katara working on it and just showing that Aang didn't really need that much practice when it came to waterbending. Earthbending is a completely different thing. Being an airbender just spiritually, like air and water are two things that come very natural to Aang, but when it comes to fire and earth, these are two elements that are much less about evading conflict and heading straight into it. And so introducing Toph in the second season, like you can't do the same thing that you did with Aang and water in the first season in the second season, because the second season literally is all about earthbending. Going to Ba Sing Se, the Dae Li, all of that, it's all earthbending. And so when it comes back to Toph, I think we're all just hoping for a character that captures that essence, the badass that is Toph Beifong, you know, the girl who invents metal bending. And I'm so overjoyed just thinking about all of the possibilities of where that character could go. But I know what a lot of you guys are thinking out there. It's the biggest question on everybody's mind. Who are they going to cast? What is this casting going to look like? I think that this really is one of the most important things that the producers, the creatives, and the casting director have to nail down. If we're looking at Season 1 as any sort of an example, Ian Ousley, Kiawentiio, Dallas Liu, Gordon Cormier, all of these actors did a fantastic job. They grew with the characters. You know, there were some age things when it came to the acting that I think a lot of people nitpicked the acting a little bit, but, you know, give them time. I think all of these kids are going to grow into these roles just fine, but you're throwing in this young actress of Toph right in the middle of everything, and so I feel like she doesn't necessarily have that much time, or as much time as the rest of them did, having a full season under their belt before we get to this stuff, to really perform. Toph's character is larger than life. She comes right in the middle of this story, and she has to just go with it. And also her story is so pronounced. There's so many different variables to this character. Being blind is at the top of the list for that. I did see somebody in the comments section saying, I wonder if they're going to get a blind actress. I find that question very interesting as well. They could go the direction that they did in The Last of Us, the young character of Sam, who actually is deaf, and they got a young actor who actually was deaf. The behind the scenes of that episode was just spectacular. Like, I loved watching it, and that kid gave a good performance, but that's what it really comes down to. That kid was a phenomenal actor. They're going out into the world, they're searching for a young actress to play Toph, and, you know, in a perfect world, maybe all the pieces are going to come together and fit together, and there's a young blind actress out there that's just going to knock it out of the park, and she's going to nail this role, and she'll end up stepping into it. But I think at the end of the day, I'm sure the creatives as well as the casting director are just looking for the person who can do the best job as Toph, because this is a huge role. So whoever that ends up being, if she was blind, I think that would be fantastic, and if she wasn't, I would totally understand, okay, well, this kid is just exactly what they were looking for to fill out this role. What's most important to me is that they capture the essence of Toph, and that she resonates with the audience in the way that the original series Toph does. She has this wicked sarcasm and humor that I think is unmatched, and I just feel like they have to include that. It's such a key part of her character, and it's so much more than them just having like one line of dialogue that's like, hey, twinkle toes, and it's like, that's it. Like, she needs to be sarcastic. That is Toph's character, so I'm very much hoping to see that. But I also just want to see a young girl that embodies being tough, hence the name, you know what I mean? A girl with an exterior shell that is really hard to break through, and somebody that you can really see just holding this thing down all the way up until the end. The only real name that I've heard about, at least, just kind of being tossed around, is Diana Toy, the girl who played Toph in that YouTube video that just really went viral, the Toph concept video, and she does a freaking amazing job in that video, and so I could see them just being like, yep, that's the one, but we're definitely gonna have to see. But I, for one, I'm very, very excited just about the possibilities. I'll definitely be covering the casting as we get to that point in the next couple of years when all this news kind of starts to pour out, but for now, it's just really fun speculating. There's a lot to speculate about, really. I mean, this is definitely kind of the start of a series that I'm going to be doing over the next couple years of just what we're excited about, what it could look like, and then what I'm hearing just here kind of behind the scenes on what they might plan on doing or who they might be looking at as far as castings. I'm going to be trying to keep my ear as close to the ground as I can on any news that I can get you guys as far as this live action Avatar The Last Airbender goes. So keep an eye on my channel, and then today, please let me know down in the comments section what you think about Toph in Season 2. Are you excited to see Toph? Is there somebody that you would want to see cast in this role? And do you really think that it's make or break when it comes to getting this young actress for Toph? Please let me know all of that down below. Also, smash like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new here. You can also follow me on X at Jones Vibes Only. And don't forget to keep up the good vibes, guys. But the Blind Bandit is earthbending her way into Season 2 of Avatar The Last Airbender, and that rocks.